Welcome to Friday night. We are eating healthy tonight.
Welcome to Life Impact Club.
So we have the fabulous Renee with us tonight.
Yeah.
And she's going to teach us how to eat well. Some great information. I'm actually really excited to hear what she has to say. She is also somebody that helps people with food as it relates to sleep.
Which I could use.
Yeah, so I could use some sleep. So I'm hoping that I can get some tips from her, but we'll bring her up in just one sec because I did a new intro video today.
Let's go.
Let's check it out.
Okay. Well done, you.
I'm all of a sudden very conscious of what I'm eating. So I'm very interested in knowing what Renee is going to say about my little snack pack here. So, okay, I need Renee to be brutally honest, but let's bring up Renee.
Yay, Renee.
Renee.
Hey, Renee, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is great.
I'm really excited. As I grab for my wine that's at the bottom of one of your lists, but that's okay. It is Friday night.
It is. Yep.
Renee, tell us a little about yourself and how you got started in this whole arena.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sure. My name is Renee Roberts, and I'm a functional nutrition coach, but I like to call myself a vitality coach because I do work with men and women to help them sleep better and get more energy through the day. So that's where I focus on. It's what I'm passionate about. I myself have had trouble sleeping for many years and have figured out how it works for me. So I figured, why not help other people as well?
Awesome.
I've been coaching for just a little over a year now. So I'm still relatively new, but I was in the corporate world for over 25 years before that in technology consulting. So, had a passion for technology, then that passion went away.
We needed you this morning when we were having our tech issue.
Yeah. So I said, okay, let's figure out something else to do. So took about a year and a half off, and then went back to school and focused on nutrition. So
what was the point? I just always like to tell people, what was the point that you said, I really want to dig deep into nutrition?
I have a story. I had probably about 10 or 15 years ago, I was sick quite a lot. And I couldn't figure out why. I kept getting sinus infections and strep throat. And there was this one year that was really bad about 15 years ago. And I got fed up. I said, I can't just keep taking antibiotics. So a friend of mine said, why don't you try going to a naturopath? So I went and we did some testing, and lo and behold, I was intolerant to a lot of food. I had a lot of food sensitivities. Now, it's not as bad as others where they have like celiac or anything. Me, it was just some sensitivities. But what it did is it taxed my immune system, and I would catch anything that came down the pike. Right. So as soon as I changed my eating habits, since then, I've never had strep throat. Really? I had the flu at one point. That's what did me in, and haven't had the flu since. Sinus infections are very rare for me now. And I realized that food can be medicine, and that's when it spurred my passion, but then really didn't do anything about it, but ate healthy for that entire time. And then, when I realized I didn't want to get out of bed to go to work anymore, I realized I needed a change. And what was I passionate about? It was food, it was nutrition.
That's
That's
really good. Good. I mean, from my experience, it always takes, something that you have to do for yourself to go, oh, this really worked. before you can actually say, okay, maybe I would like to teach others to get healthier and get better using the same techniques of what I've learned and give them shortcuts, right?
Yep, exactly.
I know food has a big impact. I know personally, when I was pregnant with my first child, I had gestational diabetes and I had it fully controlled with food. And I know that they were always really surprised because everyone else was taking insulin. So I know the power of food. I don't necessarily follow it, which is why we need people like you.
We do. Yeah, we do.
To help us.
Yeah, we need a reboot once in a while, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And I love helping people do their resets, and yeah, it's fun. It's a good time.
So is wine off the list? That's all I need to know.
No,
Otherwise, I'm shutting this down because
no, because I drink wine myself. I actually really, really like wine. So
okay, you can stay. It's going to be a really, really short session.
Yeah, very short.
Yeah, my mantra is everything in moderation. You shouldn't have to. That's my big thing, is that you shouldn't have to diet. You know, it's more than just nutrition and what you eat. It's how you eat, and it's your mindset as well, and your habits that you develop. So, and I think if you can do that, then you shouldn't be depriving yourself of anything. So,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
for sure.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
So what do you? So if somebody comes to you, so a typical person, do they come to you, Renee, that they say, you know, I can't sleep, or they say I need to feel better, or do they say I need to lose weight? Like, why do they come to you?
So lately, it's because of sleep, because that's what I'm focused on now. I kind of put myself out there as a vitality coach, as someone who can help you sleep. And in the beginning, it was more around losing weight and, you know, maintaining a healthy lifestyle. But I think sleep is so important, and it affects so many areas of our lives that I focused on that. So right now, most people are coming to me because they have trouble sleeping.
And do you help specific, like, who's your customer? Is it women, men? Is there a certain age?
Men and women over 40.
Okay.
Yeah. I have both men and women that I coach. So, but usually it's the over 40 crowd. And, you know, I think it's because that's when the hormone, especially for women, that's when our hormones start changing. And that's when we start having these issues, low energy, have trouble sleeping. Yeah. You know, our stress is higher and it affects everything. And
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to say, so I tick all those boxes too. So if I called you, what's the first thing you would do? What's the first thing you would tell us?
Well, I would look and see, first of all, what you're doing, what your daily habits are. And I would go through and, you know, I have some things I had, like, to be honest, I have paradigms that I kind of abide by.
Okay.
There are 8 rules, actually. You know, and I basically say that because I don't want people to think that they have to go on a diet. And I do cleansing as well. I'm actually have a group cleanse starting July 11th. And people actually get worried about that word cleanse because, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to eat anything. And I have to drink these weird electors and eat supplements. And that is absolutely the farthest thing from the truth. It's a whole food cleanse. It's basically eliminating, and, you know, Stacy has seen the list, which we'll show in a minute, of some things for a short amount of time, like alcohol, smoking, caffeine, stuff like that, red meat.
As I drink my wine.
Basically things that are, you know, high inflammatory for your body. You want to, if you want to remove all the processed foods, and you do that for a short period of time, you feel better. Then you realize, wow, I think that's good. And then typically a lot of people don't really go back to those, you know, some of those things. You know, I've always gone back to drinking wine after I do it, because I do a reset, you know, 3 to 4 times a year. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they're short, they're quick, they're easy, especially once you get through.
So when you say short, what do you mean? Are they 2 weeks? 1
week?
So
my cleanse is 3 weeks, but it really is, the first week is all my lessons. Like explaining what it is, what to do, prepping, shopping, meal, you know, lists and all that. And then the second week is the actual cleanse. So 7 days of the cleanse. And then the third week is reintroduction. So what you do is start reintroducing foods every 2 to 3 days to see what your body does.
Right.
right? So if you decide to, if you've eliminated gluten, which is one that's I always recommend, if you reintroduce it, then you want to see how you feel for the next couple of days. Do you get bloated again? Do you feel tired? Are you lethargic after an hour after eating? So you want to notice, and that's what I teach and, and support through the cleanse. So really the cleanse itself is 7 days.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so it's not bad.
Because most of them are 2 to 3 weeks, and I find that I've done ones that are 2 weeks, and I find that a little bit long when you're talking about elimination, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. 1 week, anybody can do something for 1 week, but I find that 2 week cleanses, like a lot of them are that 14 days.
I think a lot of them also are very like, you can only have this juice. Right?
Yeah, I don't like those ones as well. I've been literally tried to be sold on take the exactly what you're saying, juice, the soup, supplements, like you have like shakes. That's another one. Like there's a lot of ones that are, all you do is you eat this shake for like 2 weeks. And I'm like, not really teaching me something about eating.
Exactly. I like food too much to actually give it up and drink my meals. So,
so what would encompass a cleanse, for example? What kind of foods would you recommend? So what would an average breakfast or lunch or dinner be?
Well, it depends. So actually Stacy has, if you want to pull up that diet range, I can show you the range. So basically you would have, I always recommend 3 meals a day, and then you can have snacks, 2 snacks a day. I do recommend that you kind of do a little bit of a fasting. So I recommend stop eating around 7 p.m. And then, and I have tools and checklists, and I have the clients actually, talk about and write down how many hours they went from dinner to breakfast, and I like to see around 12 hours. So you can have, anything for breakfast. So here's a diet range. And, this is what I use when I have my clients kind of figure out where they want to go. Right. So that's where this line comes from, is recommendation. If you want to do a deep cleanse, then you would want to keep above that line. Where you have fruits and vegetables, any kind of herbs, any kind of cleansing foods, and then vegan whole foods. And then you can go down the list a little bit. I have a lot of people that still keep seafood and organic poultry in their diet because they just need protein, especially if you're weight training. And sometimes it's hard to just give up all meat. Right. So it's okay to have seafood, organic poultry. They start going down to eggs, and then the other stuff, the beef, pork, lamb, and then you keep going down. And so what I always suggest is see what's comfortable for you. Right. Where would you draw your line? And it doesn't have to be all above. You can say, okay, I'm going to have poultry, but I can give up seafood. So it doesn't have to be cut and dry, but you do probably want to eliminate the dairy, the refined sugar, the refined flour and gluten, because those are highly inflammatory for most people. And most people, when they eliminate it, they really feel a lot better.
So Renee, explain for people that are new to any of this and they're watching and just saying, what does inflammatory mean?
So inflammatory means that, your body has a hard time processing the food. It doesn't know what to do with it. So then your organs can get inflamed. And then it just taxes your system. What it'll do is it'll go through your digestive system, and then it may be slow in digesting. And you may have trouble. Some people get constipated. Some people get diarrhea. It just depends on the person, but everybody presents differently when they have inflammation in their body. Some people get bloated. Some people, like their hands and feet, get bloated after they eat. So that's a typical reaction to eating a food that may be high inflammatory for you.
So if you were going to go on this cleanse, so for example, you would do the first part where you stay above the line, and you did that for a couple of weeks, and then you would be like, okay, let me add in some seafood.
Yeah.
And then let me add in some poultry or whatever you're used to.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I teach through the cleanse is, okay, when we get into that 3rd week, the reintroduction, I tell people, okay, pick one food, but one food only.
Right.
Whether it's, some people have to have caffeine and they're missing it, so they put caffeine back in. Yeah. But then you want to have that just caffeine for at least 2 days. And then in 3, you want to go back, you want to remove it from your diet, and then for a day or 2, and reintroduce something else. Because what you're trying to do is see how foods affect how you feel.
Right.
So the 3rd week can be extended if you want to a longer time.
Sorry, can I just clarify something?
Yeah.
So you're saying, like, for example, eat a little bit of gluten, see how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're saying remove it and add something else as a trial to see how that makes you feel. So you're really doing one thing at a time.
Yeah, because you don't want to add
Right.
You don't want to add a bunch of things because then you don't know what's causing the issues you may have. So when you eat, like if you have gluten is usually one of the first things I recommend, because you can have, it's easy to incorporate gluten into your diet because you can have it easily for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you want to have not just a little bit, you want to have like gluten for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Gluten. I love it.
Like you want to see how you feel after that day, and you should know,
And you do, I mean, I think intuitively, after like 3 or 4 days of not eating vegetables and fruits, your body is like ready to like kill you, right? It's ready to go, okay, I need some vegetables now, like enough with this camp food. Let's get started.
Yeah. So that's, that's pretty much, it's pretty easy. There's nothing weird, like I said, in the cleanse. There is one thing that I do have people do, and I love it. And I know some people who love it and some people who just don't do it. It's called it's called the flax cocktail. That's the only weird thing.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I like flax, so carry on.
So
me too.
It's a big tablespoon of flax in a big glass of water. And you mix it and you drink it really fast.
Right.
And what it does is it helps you clear out your intestines, and because it's basically just fiber. And it really helps you clear out the toxins when you're doing that. So that is one thing I do suggest drinking twice a day during the cleanse is this flax cocktail. I actually like it. And when I feel like a little constipated or something, I'll start doing the flax cocktail, and it helps me.
Well, I think what's important too is for a lot of people who are listening is, there's a lot of guidelines and a lot of information, but the truth is if you're working with somebody, then all the questions and the subtleties that are, just yours, you can actually ask those questions. And it's hard because, when you're looking at this list, you go, okay, I can do it. But then, somebody might go, well, what about like me? Like I'm a vegetarian. So where's my tofu come in? And where you know what I mean? Like you need specific questions. So I think it's important whether you're with a group or an individual coach to be able to like, don't not eat healthy because you don't have the answers. Like find somebody like you who has the answers.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing. Everybody's unique.
Yeah.
And, one of my paradigms is that's the number one thing. The number one paradigm is there is as many right diets as there are people on the planet.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I love that. That's very true.
That's true. Yeah. It's because what's good feels good for you, and it. I mean, how I look at it is when I feel good, I always say, what did I eat today? What did I do that made me feel good? And when I feel really awful and bloated, it's usually, I can usually track it down to what I was eating, which isn't great food, right? It's not really, the truth is, and I know people won't believe me, but it's not the wine. It's usually like processed, Cheetos or something.
But you go in eyes wide open. Like, I know that if we're going to order pizza, I know I'm going to suffer, but that's a conscious decision.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I know I'm not going to sleep well, but I know I really want the pizza. So I need to weigh those pros and cons, and I'm going all in. So if I'm going to order pizza, I'm going to order pizza.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going all in on the pizza, and I'm going to suffer the next day, but I'm going all in on the pizza. But again, I know how it makes me feel, and that helps make an educated choice.
Yep, exactly.
So do you recommend, so if somebody's coming to you specifically for sleep issues, you recommend that first they do the cleanse and understand, what they're eating, and is that affecting their sleep patterns?
I look at more than nutrition, but yes, I actually recommend I look at their sleep hygiene, like what habits are they doing?
Okay.
During the day, in the evening, and I will make recommendations to help that. But yes, as far as nutrition goes, there are some things that I would suggest for, helping sleep, but I do recommend doing the cleanse as well, because it just does a reset. And that's what I call it, the reset cleanse, because it really just reset your system, and then you can start fresh, and then you tack on the sleep hygiene. And
I think, one of the issues that you get, and that's why, we really want to talk about healthy eating is, if somebody says, I'm not sleeping well, I'm not feeling well, and they go to the doctor, they'll give them a sleeping pill, right? Yeah. Or if you go to a naturopath, where they'll say, oh, take some melatonin. Like, it's not exactly an all-encompassing, like, I want to figure out the whole pattern. People are looking, people are giving you quick fixes because that's what they think they're supposed to do. Unfortunately, it doesn't usually work, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I find that, like, I know what works well for me, but it's just like Stacy said, I drink wine. I know I won't sleep well the days I drink wine, but that's a conscious decision that I make.
Right.
That I wear a Garmin watch, and it tracks my sleep. I know that I won't get any REM sleep if I drink too much wine.
Right.
It won't happen. So I'll be foggy the next day.
Right.
So
conscious decisions.
Exactly.
Right? But you can't. But you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And that's
what I try to help with. Yeah, and that's what I try to help with is, like, let's figure out what your unique body needs and what it doesn't want. And then that way and now you're armed with the information, and then you can move forward with your life and know. But the other important thing, and it's again another one of my paradigms, is your diet changes as you change. Mm-hmm. So as you get older,
right,
you may come up with food insensitivities that you never had, maybe when you were in your 20s.
See, it's sneaky, right? Like, I've always been able to do this, and there's been no problem. And then 40 hits, and it all goes away.
Exactly. So you do have to kind of keep an eye on things, because you can't. If you're in your 50s and you think you can be like you were in your 20s, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work for anything. But I know.
just saying, flat out, that sucks.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend? Where would somebody start if they're like, they hit 50? 50 is the big number, right? So what would you kind of, and I know it's a blanket statement, but what do you think most people who hit 50 have to really change in their eating habits?
Well, that's a tough one because everybody's different, but 50, you are going through hormonal changes. So you really do need to look at what you're eating. And like I said, I always recommend starting off with some kind of reset, just so you can start fresh and then figure out what works for you and doesn't work for you.
Right.
I do always recommend too, and it's not required by me or anything, but you should know if your hormones are out of balance, because that will affect weight gain, mood, energy, sleep, if your hormones are out of whack. Because typically,
and how do you find that out?
There's blood work that you can do. You can actually, there are some places that you can order through the internet. I usually get mine done through a naturopath or a hormone doctor. I see both. So they both can have them done, and they can also interpret them for you. And they would get, because the problem is, especially in like in Canada, we our doctors don't really, there's certain blood panels that they do, and most of them won't go and do other ones just because it's not covered by OHIP.
Right.
And so some of them will, you just have to pay for it.
Right.
But it's really good to, when you get to that age, is to actually seek out a hormone doctor or a naturopath that can actually do that for you. And that's a nice thing about, like, as a health coach, as a nutrition coach, I can work with the doctors and I can work with the naturopath to help keep accountability for what they say as well. But yeah, I mean, as far as food goes, it's tough because they're more habits than anything. One of the things I always recommend, it's not really food related, is as we get older, we need to do more strength training, because after the age of 30, 35, our muscles start breaking down and our metabolism slows down. And if we don't keep up with the weight training, we're gonna put on the weight, we're gonna be not as strong, and our metabolism will just keep slowing down. So that's tough too, because then we're trying to eat the same thing that we ate 10 years ago, and we're putting on weight. Why? Well, because our body doesn't need that many calories because the metabolism slowed down.
Right. That, and I've noticed, like I'm like I said, I'm vegetarian, so I don't have a lot of most of the stuff I eat is usually fairly healthy. My choice is salads, my choice is lighter fare, but I have noticed the metabolism isn't the same. So I can still make those same choices, but it's like it's slowing down, and it's interesting. You at the point where you go, well, you accept and you go, well, it's part of aging, but then you're, there's something I can do about it. It just takes effort. And I have never done, I'm a yoga person. I've never really done strength training. I'm looking at it now because I'm thinking, as you've said, so many people have said, it's time to do it. Once you're over 50, it's really time to go, okay.
And I guess I never really understood the why. I mean, everyone said it, you need to do strength training, but I didn't understand how that related to metabolism. So that's actually really interesting.
Yeah, it is. And it is important as we get older to strength train. Absolutely.
And so you do it on a regular basis?
Yes, typically. Outside of COVID. I actually go to Orange Theory Fitness. I love it. I love high intensity interval training. It works for me. I find that my body responds to it really well. Now, I haven't gone in over a year now, I guess, because you couldn't. But yes, I can't wait until they actually start opening up again.
I've heard a lot of people really rave about it in regards to the fact that they just don't know what to think and they're just told what to do and blah, blah, blah. It didn't work for me. I found another route that I went. But yeah, it's interesting. Just, you're right. Different things work for different people.
Yeah, you have to find your the comfort level, right? I find so as I get older, I find I used to do high intensity. I used to teach it, and now I find that I don't like anything jarring as I get older. So as I get older, that's why strength training, which never appealed to me before, because I thought how boring could that be, is now okay, because I'm like, well, that's not jarring. It's just like lifting the weight at your own time, at your own pace. Not a class for me. For a lot of people, they would love weight classes. That's not who I am. If I'm by myself, I could do it. But I think, it's important, because I would love to see the difference if you actually incorporate something like that into your life on a daily basis. So you can tell me, Renee, would your food choices be different?
Yes, because as we get older too, and it's interesting that you're vegetarian, you really do have to focus. I always focus on protein. Protein is so important as we get older because of the muscle loss. And protein does help feed the muscles, and that's why sleep is important as well, because when you do your strength training, you're breaking down the muscles. They need to be repaired. That happens during deep sleep.
Right.
We have that at night. So it's all intertwined, and it's So protein is always, I always say protein, make sure you're getting enough, because it also keeps you satiated as well.
Right.
So
but you just have to find your mix. Yeah. So I think, if somebody was like, so let's say we have some listeners who are, or viewers who are, they eat the same thing they've always done. Maybe they get up and eat bacon and eggs, and they have, a sandwich and some fries for lunch, which is, they're in the office, if they were back in the office, and they just go to the local deli. And then at dinner, they might have some pasta, or they might have a steak or something. So if that's a traditional, old school kind of menu, what would first thing you would say to somebody like that?
Well, I guess it would be, depending on their goal. Like, we want to find out. I don't really worry about calorie intake as much as making sure they are getting their nutrients and
Right.
the right, that they're getting all their carbs, fats, proteins, and stuff like that. So probably, and depending on the person again, it's another thing I say is small hinges swing big doors. So it's not about changing the diet, all the time. So if they're going out, we can focus on one meal. And being a coach, I don't like recommending things. I like the client to actually get to, like, it's a conversation more than anything. Right. Because the client has to be willing to.
Yeah. Well, otherwise it's Renee said, and now I don't want to do what Renee said.
Exactly.
I'm going to be a toddler, and I'm just going to go, I don't want to do what Renee said.
I don't want to do what Renee said. Renee's wrong.
Exactly. But I would urge or, recommend or get to the point where they could say, okay, let's look at some small things. You don't have to change your whole diet, but instead of having French fries, maybe you can replace French fries with something else. And it could be the salad or whatever they like. So we would have that conversation to say, okay, what other things do you like as a side dish?
That's why I think the coaching aspect is so important, because most people read, you shouldn't have fries, you should have a salad. And the first time somebody says that, they go, well, I don't like salad. But then a coach can help walk you down the path of, well, let's think of a salad that you might enjoy and walk you through something that's nutritious and it would make sense to you, right? But I think that's where people fail the most, is they just don't know the substitute to make on their own. Right?
Well, and the fact that, again, like you said, they go on the internet, but I'm not on the internet.
Right.
So I can't find information that would be me.
Right.
Things that I like to eat, substitutions that would work in my life. Right. I'm not on the internet. So hence why coaches are so important to help you get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it is, because it is a learned behavior. So as we walk them through the journey, soon they'll be able to make their own choices, right? And they'll be able to say, you know what, I can tell the difference and I can certainly, I know people that are conscious of what they eat, and I'm not conscious on calories because I don't care, but I'm conscious on how I feel. And I do know certain foods make me feel better than others. And yes, I'm like Stacy. I mean, we have nacho night on Friday nights. Like, that is a conscious decision, and it doesn't always make me feel good in the morning. But I walk into it knowing that, I know how it's going to make me feel. So if you've not been trained, and I think we all have to be trained by somebody that really knows what they're talking about. If you've not been trained, then you don't even know the subtle triggers that, you have to look for.
Exactly.
So, right.
Well, because you also feel that the way that you feel, it becomes your normal.
Right.
So I think that's the biggest issue. And I know I faced that a few years ago, is that I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how I felt to not feel bloated.
Right.
So I thought that bloated feeling was my normal.
Right.
So other people didn't feel that way, but this was my normal.
Right.
So you don't know that, and which is why things like cleanses and stuff like that can be so beneficial.
Right.
Because then you realize that feeling actually isn't normal.
Yeah.
And that was I think it was like a couple of years ago. I was on a really good, and then COVID hit and it all went to hell in a handbasket, which is why we need Renee now more than ever. But that's when I realized that, this is what normal's supposed to feel like. Yeah. Being bloated isn't normal, but you forget if you've been like that for so long that you don't know what it's like to not feel that way.
Right.
Yeah. And it's interesting too. I find too, and I find it more women that are, 40s, 50s and above. We had this back in the day where to lose weight, you had to have 1,000 calories a day. And it's crazy because you're basically starving yourself. But there are so many people out there that actually still go by that rule. And so what happens, it's an interesting thing that happens because, again, you're basically starving your body. Your metabolism basically shuts down and goes in starvation mode. And so everything that you put in your body, it's going to it's going to do the opposite effect of what you think is happening. It's going to hold on to everything it can because it doesn't know when its next meal is coming. So I find, I haven't had a client like this, but I've talked to other coaches who've had clients like this, where it's very hard for them to actually get somebody to have more calories because they're so used to it. It's just like what you were saying. Right. They're so used to eating that way that they can't eat more because they've been doing it for so many years, and they can't just eat a full meal because it's just too filling for them.
But I think the fascination is that when you're eating the right foods, you eat more.
Right.
And yet you're still healthy. You're still either losing or maintaining your healthy weight, but you're eating more.
Yeah.
And that is a very, very hard thing psychologically to get around. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a thing around mindful eating as well. I've done a challenge like this in the past on mindful eating, getting people to eat mindfully, just eat. Don't multitask. When you have your food, sit down at a table, eat your food, cherish the food, like really, understand what you're eating, enjoy it. And also the other thing is you should really, our digestion starts in the mouth. You really should be doing around 30 chews per bite. I know. It's hard. It's really hard.
Well, I guess I would simply say, I would tell people, for me, it's always funny. Have you ever thought, and I'm sure if you haven't thought about this, then you're 1 in a million. But have you ever thought, did I eat something? Like, did I just eat something? I can't even remember if I ate or not. Like, you ate something and you don't remember eating it, which is not good. So you were not
been there, done that. I've wondered where things have gone.
Yeah,
on my plate. I swear to God, I've accused my children of taking them off my plate.
But it's those, again, mindfully understanding all of those things, and that's what I think you do, right? As a coach, you say, you try to work through that noise and make sure that they really, because the first thing I think most people say is, I eat pretty healthy. I don't eat a lot. You know what I mean? And then if you actually journal it.
That is a very interesting thing to try to do.
Yeah.
And very difficult, in my opinion. That is probably the hardest thing and the hardest realization, is to write down what you eat.
Right. And be truthful.
That's the thing.
Yeah. And because here's the problem. So if Renee is a coach, I think, Renee, you can tell us, but if Renee as a coach says, okay, I want you to journal for a week, do you find that the person will eat better because they have to report it in?
That's hard to say, probably because you're writing it down. And it is interesting because I've journaled my own food, because if I'm not feeling, I have something called a food, mood, poop journal. Okay. And it's basically, when I tell people to journal, or when I journal myself, I don't care about the macros. I don't care about the calories. All I care about is what I'm putting in my body.
Right.
Okay, so I know I had, for breakfast, I had a breakfast cookie. That's all I would put. I know what's in my breakfast cookies because I make them.
Right.
So, and then for lunch, I'll put something else. And then, but then I also track when I go to the bathroom, because again, and I track what comes out because that's how you tell how your body's reacting to the food you eat. So if somebody's having issues, that's a really good way to kind of pinpoint the food that may be causing the trouble if you don't want to do a cleanse.
Right.
It's one way to do it. But you're right, though. I think that just the fact of having to write it down really probably gets people to eat a little better, or not eat. Like if you want to grab a snack, but then you're like, I'm going to have to log it, I'm just not going to have the snack.
Yeah.
Well, because it makes you aware. It's kind of like mindful eating, right? It makes you very aware of what you're eating, how you're eating, and maybe what you could be eating better. So, the choices and stuff like that.
I think, for those of us who are parents, like when your kid's a toddler and you're feeding them and you have a tendency of eating whatever's there with them, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't even notice what you're eating because you're like, oh, Yeah, I did have half of their sandwich because they didn't eat it.
Chicken fingers. I had 10. They're just this big. All little bites.
Exactly.
So it's not, it's obviously, it's an easy process if you have somebody guiding you. It's a little bit harder on your own, but I mean, you can obviously do it. But I think, so for you, Renee, what is the absolute biggest benefit to really taking the time to spend looking at your eating habits?
Well, I think you're going to feel better. You're going to reset your baseline of well-being. You're going to sleep better. You'll probably have clearer skin.
Right.
More energy. I mean, really, you just want, because everybody's different. So food affects everybody. Not everybody can do a keto diet or a vegan diet or whatever. So doing it, really looking at your food and what you're eating will be unique to you. Because everybody is different. So that's what you can do. So you get a lot of benefit if you just start tracking your food and seeing, okay, I feel kind of bloated. So what did I eat for lunch or breakfast, or, what did I eat a few hours ago that's making me feel this way? And then you can make a little mental note and then just keep tracking. And then maybe if you figure it out, then you can say, okay, maybe I shouldn't eat this food anymore. Let's eliminate it for a while and see what happens. And that's the nice thing too, is just because you eliminate something doesn't mean it's gone forever, because our bodies change. So I used to not be able to eat gluten. Now I can have the pizza, and pizza's my favorite food.
Yeah, one of my
favorite. So I have no problems eating it now. Like, it doesn't bother me anymore as long as I eat it in moderation.
Yeah.
So for what we started doing was we do make your own pizzas because we love pizza, but I noticed a big difference in how I feel if I make my own versus ordering it from the local pizza shop. I love the local pizza shop pizza, which I still order from, but if I that's now less and more. If we want pizza, we make our own. So I'm trying to make, if I'm going to have pizza, trying to make a little bit of a healthier choice. So it's still pizza, and we actually like it better.
Yeah.
Right? Which is so good, and I don't feel so gross.
Yeah. Well, I think it's always when you're making your own or you're fresh. I mean, I'm at the farm right now, and I was making dinner for everyone, and I went to the garden and had fresh buttercup bread lettuce, and I just put a little bit of oil and vinegar on it, and it was amazing. And if you have a salad that you buy from, you think you're healthy, and you go to the grocery store and you buy a salad with all that dressing on it, it's not even healthy. So I think, when you make your own, it feels so much better. Like, you're at least one step closer to, it's not for everybody because not everyone has the time. So what would you say, Renee, how do you eat healthy if you don't have time? If you're like, I'm just swamped, I do not have time to worry about what I'm going to eat for dinner. I just eat whatever's there.
Yeah. So the number one thing I would say, but you do need to make time for it, is you need to meal prep. Like, if you want to eat healthy, then really spend, whether it's like, a few hours on the weekend to just prep some meals, like figure out what you're doing. I think that's the number one, the easiest thing, because if you plan your meals, and there's apps on your phone that you can get the recipes, they build your shopping list, and you can go to the store and it has everything there and has everything in the app. You can do something like that. And especially, snacks are a big thing. If you can meal prep your snacks, so it's healthy for you, you can eat it, then it's there. So it's something fast to grab. And then if you are going to have to buy more processed food or something, then look at the label. And there's I could do a whole workshop on, what to avoid in food labels, like especially all the hidden sugars, because that's a huge lot of processed foods is the added sugars.
So what do you think about these delivery services? These, like Good Food or Prep in a Box, whatever they're called, that they deliver food and a recipe. Do you know about them? Do you think they're healthy?
Well, a lot of them they give you the ingredients and you still have to prepare the meal. I think that's fine because you know what's going in there.
Right.
And it's definitely better than going and, ordering Domino's or, you know what I mean? Like going and to a fast food restaurant where you won't know what's in it. So at least a lot of those food deliveries, you know what you're making. And then you can also tailor it. Like if you can't eat one ingredient, you just don't add it to the food.
Right.
So I personally have never used them. I like going shopping and buying and looking at my produce and picking out what I like.
Right.
So, but I think they're fine. Absolutely. Cool. Because you have to. And there are things like there are people that, and I have all these tools when I coach that I do have lists like for people that travel. Well, if you're traveling, you don't have access to a kitchen. No. So, I have a list of foods that they could have, if they have to go to a convenience store or, stuff like that, the healthier option. They're still processed, but there are better foods. And then that's when you teach them how to read labels.
Right. And menu items and how to order off of a menu. And I know when we were I think when COVID first started, we really got into meal planning. So it's like, okay, when I involved the kids and they wrote down what we were going to have for the week, we would do the once a week grocery shop because we didn't want to go to the stores very often. But it also alleviated a lot of stress. So Wednesday night, dinner time, it's not, oh crap, what are we going to eat? Let me grab something out of the freezer. It was, let me look at my list. This is what we're going to have. I know we have it. I know I have all the ingredients because I already pre-planned. And I go ahead and I start to make it. So it definitely makes everything a lot easier. That did start to slide as things started to open and but that did it. It saved a lot of stress when, you can only go to the grocery store once a week.
Yeah.
Right. And you weren't able to just go and, go to your corner store and pick something up. Right. So it definitely makes it a lot easier because you have all the ingredients at home.
Right? Yeah. And I find you're saving money because one of my clients, he, 4 kids, and he would buy whatever's on sale at the grocery store. Well, what he found is that because he was buying stuff on sale, then he would try to figure out what to make. But I introduced him to the app that I use, and now he meal plans and he gets everything just what he needs, and he's saving money because he's not buying things and throwing them out because they were never used, even though he bought them on sale.
Yeah.
But it's we might eat this and we might eat that. No, I don't feel like this tonight. Let's go to Harvey's or whatever.
Exactly.
So what app do you use? You're allowed to give a shout out.
It's called AnyList.
I use it too.
Yes, I love that.
I love AnyList. Yeah, it's great because you can share meal plans and whatever and lists. I like it. Yeah.
That's great. It does help. I mean, it makes a difference when you have you have it in front of you because it's always you think of a recipe and then you go to the grocery store without a list and you're like, what was it that I needed again? And then you end up
good, and that looks good, and you're hungry, and this looks good, and then you've got this. Oh, look, it's new. Oh, let me buy this. And you're like, shopping cart's like $5,000, and you're like, but it looked good on the thing.
That's why you never go to the store hungry. You have to eat first.
I know.
Bright, shiny boxes.
Yeah, it's true.
What always gets me, this is my biggest downfall in life, is the word new. If you want to sell me on anything in the entire world, I'm giving you guys permission. This is my weakness. Slap the word new on the box, especially with cereals. I will buy it. Crackers, like anything like that. Slap that word new on it. It's probably been around for 100 years. You slap that word new on it, I'm like, oh, it's new. It's my downfall in life.
Yeah, didn't say new and healthy, just said new.
It says new. But don't say new and improved because that makes me angry.
Yeah.
Just new. Because if it's improved, it's not new.
So all of your strategies, Renee, what do you think are the top 3 things that people really need to focus on if they wanted to start a much healthier lifestyle with their eating habits?
I think the number one is they really do need to change their mindset around food, because it's our relationship. Your relationship with food and your body impacts your health more powerfully than the food you eat. So mindset is so important. So you have to be in the right mindset to say, I want to be healthy, and that's what this means. It doesn't mean I'm going to go on any specific type of diet, but you are changing your lifestyle. I think if you want to succeed, you need to have that mindset.
Right.
And then you need to have the develop the healthy habits around eating healthy. So meal planning, looking at, if you really do want processed food, look at the ingredients on the list and really decide if you want to do that. And then it's down to the food choices you make, around eating. Some people like to eat every few hours through the day. Some people like to eat 2 meals a day. That really doesn't matter as long as what you're putting in your body is actually nourishing your body.
Right.
So I think the number one thing is mindset. I mean, after so many years, it's of me living, as nutritiously as I can. It's very hard for me to have like a standard bar in my, like a Cliff Bar or whatever in my pantry, because it's like, no, it's too processed for me. But that's just because I've developed that mindset, and that's there. And that doesn't happen overnight. So, and that's the other thing. It does take time to develop.
I like the fact that she said bar and she meant bar. I thought bar as in bar.
I know. I think
we need to change my mindset.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because sometimes when I do some workshops, I always start off with a list of ingredients, and I try to get people to guess, like, what do you think this is? And it looks like a chocolate bar, and it's actually not. It's a protein bar. So people think that's healthy, but when you look at all the ingredients, you're like, wow, this I don't even know what half these ingredients are.
Yeah.
You can't even pronounce half of them. So I think that that's important to know what's going in your body, but it's also important to know what your body will take and what your body likes and doesn't like.
Yeah.
And you have to take the time to figure that out.
I think, I mean, to me, I agree. A mindset is really where you have, first of all, you have to come to the realization that you want to eat healthier, and you want to sleep better, and you want to feel better when you wake up in the morning, right? Because as Stacy said, she didn't know the reality of what it felt like not to be, bloated in the morning or whatever. It's kind of like when I was traveling for years and years, and I was on different time zones, literally on a daily basis. And I drank so much coffee because I didn't know what time zone I was on. I would land in Tokyo, then I would land in Europe. And so when I stopped, I realized what it was like to have like a normal feeling. And it took months and months for me to understand that. So you don't even know what you're doing to your body and abusing it until you stop and go, okay, let me see what it feels like if I eliminate all these choices. I think your cleanse is a great idea. We should maybe think about that as one of our challenges, Stacey.
I like that idea. When is your next cleanse starting? You said July
11th.
July 11th.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, July 11th, 31st.
So we're getting just a couple of questions. So one question that I'm getting is about air fryers. So what is your opinion on air fryers as it relates to a healthier version, maybe, of obviously the deep fryers?
Oh, absolutely. It's healthier. I have one myself. Can't beat an air fryer when you want to do French fries, because French fries in the oven just never work. Same with like chicken wings. So yeah, air fryers are fine because you don't use a lot of oil.
Right.
You definitely don't want to do the deep frying because it's just all that oil. I mean, that's a lot. You don't need, when you're eating a meal, you typically would have 1 to 2 thumbfuls of fat per meal. That's just the guideline. And so that includes the oils you cook with. So if you can do deep frying, I mean, that's going to be a lot of oil.
Absolutely.
I think air fryers are fine.
Perfect. Okay, we need to get one of those for the farm, Faye.
Yeah, I know. Well, I've seen all these great ones now. They used to be those big, round, ugly ones, but now
they're actually really nice. Yeah.
Toaster ovens and stuff. They're very pretty.
And the next question is about having a glass of water, lemon water, in the morning.
Oh, yes. Yeah, actually, I highly recommend it. I do that every morning. I actually like my coffee, but I have this routine that I drink 2 cups of hot water instead of coffee with lemon or lemon oil. And
Or lemon oil. That's interesting. You're the second person that said that to me. So just a couple of drops of lemon oil is
1 drop of lemon essential oil is all I do. That you can do more, but 1 is enough. Okay. And I like it. And lemon is a detoxing. It's detoxing, so it really does. And it's good to have, even if you don't want to put lemon, just having water when you first wake up. Just down 2 glasses of water. You should, and I don't know if you know the rule of thumb for how much water you should drink per day, is you take your body weight in pounds, divide that in half, and then convert it to ounces. So to make it easy.
Divide it in half, and then...
Yeah. So if you weigh 100 pounds, you should drink 50 ounces of water a day.
Yikes.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry, one more time?
So 100 pounds, you should drink 50 ounces.
So if you're, not that I am, but I mean, if you're 200 pounds, you should drink 100 ounces of water a day?
Mm-hmm. That's not, you think about it, that's not a whole lot. I mean, it is.
My small bladder.
That's a whole lot. So divide by 2, and that's the amount of ounces? Not converting it to ounces, but that's the amount of ounces.
Yeah. So the other rule of thumb is
you and I don't drink enough water.
No,
I know we don't drink enough water.
Well, I always hope my tea has enough water.
But you can. Herbal tea, as long as it's, if it's herbal, then you can count that as water as well. Yeah. And you can flavor your water. You can put lemon or lime or fruit in it or whatever. Just make it flavored. I actually do, I make a chia cocktail as well. I drink it every day. It's,
Sorry, I'm doing the calculation right now on how much I weigh and dividing it by 2. I'm going to go to that for the rest of my life.
So what's the chia cocktail? I'm interested.
So it's, again, water with a tablespoon of chia seeds. And then I put a very small amount of tart cherry juice, just like a splash. And I drink that, I shake it. And then after about 20 minutes, it's almost like drinking bubble tea, because the chia kind of expands and gets kind of gelatinous, and they kind of float in the water. And chia seeds are really good for you. They're like a superfood. And it's really nice.
Does the flaxseed in water count?
The flaxseed is good too. Yeah, except flaxseed is just, as one of my clients said, it's like drinking wood.
Yeah.
It doesn't expand. It just
bubble tea I like.
Okay,
Faye, you and I. We're drinking some chia seeds.
And a splash of sour cherry.
Tart cherry juice.
Tart cherry. I don't even know where they get that.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, you find it in the organic section of the grocery stores would have it, or organic food stores. And it's basically, you find it where you find like the organic cranberry juice.
Okay.
Cherry juice. Yeah, tart cherries are known for helping with sleep.
Oh, then I'm fine.
But I mean, it's only a splash, so I really don't know how much it's really helping, but it gives a nice flavor to the water. Yeah.
I just don't know if I drink half my weight in water, I might not be sleeping at all.
No, and that's the other thing. You want to stop liquid intake 3 hours before bed.
Okay.
Before your bedtime.
Well, that's good, because Faye never sleeps, so you don't have to worry about that. You can just sleep at 2 a.m.
I know. I'm trying to work on it. I just can't find the magic formula.
Yeah, it's stopping to drink liquids 3 hours before bedtime.
I have a whole workshop on sleep. I just did the challenge, a sleep challenge, and I have a whole workshop on it too. That's fun. That's a fun one. I love putting that together, because I geek out when it comes to sleep. I like to know why. It's like you said, Stacy, it's like, it's nice to say tips, to give out tips, but I like to know why certain tips work.
Right. I mean, that's exactly it. Like, if somebody said, "Oh, do this, it'll work for sure," I'd do it. I just can't figure it out. I've tried a lot of things and I can't, but maybe I just need to do Renee's.
Well, I was going to say, so I think we need to, chia seeds and tart cherry juice or cranberry juice.
No, tart cherry.
Chia seeds in water with a splash of juice.
Yeah.
splash.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, that's
a
really
whole lot of water, so it better taste really good.
So, it's interesting though. So Renee, I mean, I've seen this a lot. I haven't done it because I don't really go into all those fats that much. But there's a lot of people that will say, you'll say, oh, just a splash of tart cherry. Well, somebody will go, well, to heck with that. I'll do a half a cup because if a splash is good.
Yeah, the problem is that's calorific, right?
Right.
It's very high in sugar. Even though there's no added sugar, it's still fruit.
Right.
It's still fruit juice. So it's very concentrated.
Good to know for people, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
Because it is true, right? Don't you find that a lot of people, if you tell them to do something, they'll go overboard with it because they think, well, I'll just do more and it'll work faster.
Yeah.
I will say, I mean, Faye and I have been having a conversation a lot lately in regards to how much we're drinking during the day, and we're probably not drinking enough. So that's part of it.
Right.
That whole
and that's always one of my number one things is I think water is always, you can always increase your water intake because it really does. It keeps you full. And especially if you find you have cravings, I always suggest that before you eat, drink water and wait 10 minutes. Drink a glass of water, wait 10 minutes, and then ask yourself if you're still hungry. Because a lot of times you're just thirsty.
Right.
Right. Now, what's the pros and cons? Because I've unfortunately or fortunately have been through a lot of nutritionists and personal trainers in my history of attempting to be healthy. And one will say, the 3 meals. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's how we were brought up. That's from the caveman days. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No snacks. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. And then you have the other school of thought, which is the snacking. So it's 5 to 6 meals a day, smaller, and that's going to help, again, your metabolism and stuff like that. Where do you sit on that?
It depends on the person.
I figured.
For me, I'm more of I don't eat snacks really, just because of the way, if I start eating snacks, then I won't stop. So for me, I like to schedule my meals, right? I like to know when I'm going to eat. That's what I do. I know how much I can eat, and that's, helps me. But there are people that need to eat throughout the day because, blood sugar levels or whatever, they have to keep them at, without going up and down. So it really does depend. So I think it's a trial and error. And that is funny because that is one of my other paradigms is that I go by is your body is the most powerful, least expensive, and best dietary experimentation lab in existence. Because your body has an innate wisdom beyond any book or authority. So no matter what phase of life you're in, your body is the ultimate authority for you. So that's why you have to, Stacy, you may need to eat more, like 3 meals a day plus 2. Right. Faye, you may be better with 3. I know people that eat 1 meal a day.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it because I like food too much, but
yeah, I did a very strict 3 meal a day regimen for a while, and I felt I was deprived. I really enjoy that sort of mid snack concept. So psychologically, I felt like I was depriving myself, even though my body may not have needed it. Psychologically, I felt like I needed that snack. I felt like I was depriving myself.
Yeah, and I feel like I always feel the opposite because I don't like breakfast. I just don't like it. It doesn't make me feel good when I eat in the morning. I just don't. I feel sluggish, and so when I don't eat breakfast, I feel so much better. But then everyone's always like, you got to eat breakfast. It's the most important meal. You got to eat breakfast. And I've tried, and then I feel bad. So I finally just gave up and just said, okay, forget it. I'm just not eating because that's how I feel better. But I mean, I guess it's the same thing. It's like, you have to go with your own body and your own rhythm, right?
Exactly. And I think as long as you're getting the nutrients throughout the day, then it doesn't matter when you eat.
Right.
It's, if you're eating more meals, 6 or 7 meals a day, it doesn't matter. Just as long as they're right sized, right? You don't want to take
huge meals.
So speaking of breakfast, what do you feel about juice first thing in the morning? So freshly squeezed orange juice, is it best on an empty stomach or should be taken later? Would putting it sort of first thing in the morning, is that sort of shooting up your glucose?
Yeah, fruit is an interesting topic, and juice is interesting as well, because I'm not a big fan of juices in general, of drinking them. I do recommend, if you're going to have juice and it's freshly squeezed, then drink water first. Like, at least get water in your system when you wake up. And then if you want juice, and again, it's going to depend on how you react to it. But just be careful what you're eating the rest of the day with fruit. You don't want to, because it's still sugar. Even though it's a natural sugar, it's still sugar. And you can still get on that blood sugar roller coaster if you have too much fruit.
Interesting.
And it depends on the person. Some people can do it. I find by eating fruit, I'm hungry an hour later, starving an hour later. So I find I'd rather have vegetables than fruit. But that's me. It just,
Yeah, you have to know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I used to love that. It was a V8 vegetable juice.
Oh.
I know. I sort of got I'm the only one on the planet that would be. It's on the same category as clamato juice. Apparently, we were talking about last Friday.
I remember I heard that conversation, and that was so funny. I want to like clamato, but I don't. I don't like.
You like anything with the name clamato and juice, clam juice. Like,
but the vegetable juice is, I found, because again, I like tomato juice, so to me it tasted.
I like my tomato. I could just get a tomato and eat it, but I can't drink a tomato juice.
Yeah, I can't either. I want to, because I think I would really like a Bloody Mary, or Caesar, but we can't.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Yeah.
That's funny. Is there any more questions, Stace?
No, but I'm interested in this other fullness scale versus hunger.
Oh, yes.
Scale.
Because I was one of the things that I was going to mention is, and I think I mentioned it briefly, is, you may be thirsty, right? You may think you're hungry or you have a craving, but you may be thirsty. Right. So I figured I would talk a little bit about just the hunger scale. One of the things I teach when I coach is this hunger scale, because it's very important to know when you're hungry, and then when you're eating, when you're full. So if you want to pull that up real quick.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah. So basically, what it is, I think I mentioned this already, what you eat is only part of the picture. You also have to look at how you eat, who you are being when you eat, and do you eat when you're hungry or not actually hungry, or do you eat too little or too much? So that's where the scale comes in. So if you look at the hunger scale on the left, it ranges from 1 to 10, where 1 is just starting to notice hunger and 10 is being completely famished. Right. So what you want to do is, if you started noticing hunger, you kind of want to start planning for food when you hit number 2 on that scale. Right. Because it gives you time to prepare the food and eat before you're starving. Because, what happens when you're starving, you just start,
you make very bad choices.
Yeah, because you just grab it in front of you and you shove it in your mouth.
And is that where cravings kick in, like sugar cravings, carb cravings, that kind of stuff?
It could. And again, the cravings may be something else entirely. And I actually have a food journal that I talk about when people have that issue with cravings and they just can't stop. I have them journal, and ask themselves the questions: what am I doing right now? Right. And what is cueing me this hunger? Am I actually hungry or sad or bored or anxious or depressed? Or is there something I want to avoid or procrastinate, distract myself away from? So those are some questions you want to ask, again, before grabbing at food. So there's just some tools you can use. And then the fullness scale is similar, 1 to 10, where 1 is feeling famished and 10 is feeling totally stuffed.
Right.
So and you may have heard this, eat to 80% full. So it's kind of the same thing. You eat for energy, which is around about a 7 on this scale. You don't want to eat until you're stuffed. You want to eat until you're satisfied and you feel energy. And that's where you want to stop, because it does take your body, some time to actually digest the food. So you want to actually stop putting food in there so it has time to do that, because you'll start feeling full after about 15 minutes or so. So it's called honoring your hunger. That's what I call it. And it's funny, there is a problem that most of us habitually eat beyond fullness.
Right.
So you want to create some habits around honoring your hunger.
Yeah. And I know, unfortunately, alcohol has an impact on that.
It absolutely does.
It does suppress the fullness feeling.
Yeah. And it increases your cravings too, because how often do you, have a few glasses of wine and then all of a sudden you're in the pantry eating chips or, your kids' food. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
my partner, I'll tell a story. My partner, he was, I caught him in the kitchen one day. We had opened a nice bottle of wine and we were sharing it and whatever. And then he went into the kitchen and I looked and he was over the sink just eating chips. Like, what are you doing? He was like, I don't know. I was hungry. I'm like,
and that's you. It's kind of like, it's mindless, right? You're not thinking. That's exactly it. You're not thinking about it. You think you're hungry, or you think you should be doing something, and so you just eat, and then you're like, what happened to the bowl?
Yeah,
I get like that with chips. I'll be having chips with wine and all of a sudden the chips are gone.
Yeah, and that's another good tip, is that never eat out of the container. If you are going to have portion out your food.
Let me guess, you should put it in a bowl.
Well, you should, and you should really understand what one portion is. How many chips are in a portion?
Put it in a bowl.
Yeah.
Put it in a bowl, right? Is this what you're saying? You should put it in a bowl.
Well, because you can't, if for people that, who open up a bag of chips and eat, you can't see the bottom. So how do, you might eat the whole bag and then look and go. I remember my girlfriend in the US, she was on a call with her work, and it was back before Zoom. So it was an audio call. So you didn't see each other. It was a conference call. And she texted me at the time and she's like, it was so boring. And then I looked down and I realized the whole bag of Oreos was gone. And totally serious, right? And she's like, oh my God, what have I done? But it's true, because if you're it's a crutch, you're so bored. And I've done it. I've eaten things because I'm bored, right? I'm just like, I don't have anything to do. I might as well eat, right? And that was a very COVID thing, right? We talked about it, Stacey and I talked about it on Hot Topics, like nothing to do. Okay, let's just eat or watch Netflix.
But that's what started happening is, again, you're grabbing a glass of wine, you grab your big bag of chips, and there's no end.
No.
Right? Until you get to the bottom of the bag and you go, I just ate the whole bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Problem.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting a comment that you get exercise going back and forth, filling the bowl.
Oh, who is that? Whoever that comment was. I don't think Renee teaches that.
No. So against Renee's philosophy. Not supposed to be filling the bowl with chips.
Everything but yes.
I mean, Renee would say the same thing. You can't fill an entire bowl with, fruit and eat the whole bowl, right? And I love fruit and vegetables, and well, obviously, because I don't really, eat meat. So, but I will dump a whole bowl of strawberries, a big, huge tub of strawberries, and I'll eat them all. And that's like, that's my dinner or lunch, and I justify it like that. I just say, well, that's lunch. But I know it's not good for you just to have a bowl of strawberries.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Yeah, it's a lot of sugar, but again, it's
better than eating a whole cake.
Yeah, exactly. Like for me, if I did that and had a whole, and especially now, I have a really nice bowl of strawberries that in season that are red in the center, which are hard to find.
Yeah.
What is that?
Ontario strawberries. Yay.
I know. I remember looking at the strawberry. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's red all the way through.
They're so delicious. So it's my one thing, and they're ridiculously expensive because they're so good. I don't care. I just buy the whole container and I eat them all by myself. It's like for me, it's like, some people might want to buy a bottle of wine or maybe smoke some drugs or something. I'm like, ooh, a big bowl of Ontario strawberries. I'm good.
Yeah.
So true.
Well, and it's funny because one thing that may help too for people that like fruit, but it may have issues like I do where I get hungry. I'll be really hungry an hour later is I add a little bit of protein. So my breakfast consists of an apple with some kind of nut butter.
Right. And that's why, I try because you hear all the time, we'll put some strawberries in your, Greek yogurt and I do. And once in a while I go, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And then it just kind of drops off. But that's, the intentions are there. But I think what I find, and this, I got a question for you on this side. I do that religiously, honestly. Like I'm full in, I'm going to do this. I'm going to eat my yogurt and strawberries. And then I miss a day and then I completely forget. that that's what I was supposed to do. Yeah. So how do you get around that, Renee?
Well, I guess you would probably, you'd have to kind of set a reminder or like have a note. Like if that is a problem where, if you want strawberries with yogurt,
yeah,
but you forget. So you're saying you forget and one day you just have strawberries and don't.
No, one day I just forget that was my routine. It's like you're saying, okay, have chia seeds and water. And I'm like, good, I will be the first one. I guarantee you, I'll go out tomorrow. I'll buy my chia seeds. I'll start drinking and I'll be really your best student for about a week. And then one day, because of life, I won't be able to have it. And then I'll forget that that's what I was doing.
And you'll go back to having coffee only.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're used to.
That's what I'm used to.
Yeah. Yeah. And and I think that's when you kind of have to do a reset, to say, okay, I forgot to do this. And so as part of, when you're building habits, there are tools that you can use like checklists or whatever. So during the cleanse, I have a checklist for people to say, did you do your flax cocktail? You can have it on your refrigerator, check it off. And then, but you do a habit. I think it takes 21 to 28 days to actually form a habit. So, if you do it for a week, your habit really hasn't been formed yet.
Right.
So it really is easy to stop it because it's not really a habit yet.
So what do you think your most challenging, client was, and how did you help them overcome their issue?
I haven't had many challenging clients, but I have one, not a current client right now, that is really needs to lose weight, and has health issues because of it.
Right.
And the problem is it's because she's overweight, she's having knee issues, she's having high blood pressure. So there's a lot of things that come with being, overweight, and as overweight as she is. So, trying to get her to do movement through the day or like exercise, and I don't ask a lot, but it's like, go out for a walk, 20 minutes, get outside, do something, get that habit formed. I think that was one of the most difficult things, is because you have somebody it's hard for them to walk for minutes because their knees are in so much pain. He was also traveling 100% of the time.
Right.
So how do you get her to eat healthy when she doesn't have a kitchen? And so that's the difficult thing. It's like you have to kind of meet them where they are, and you give them the best advice you can based on their situation. And you realize that's going to take a little bit longer to get to her goals because of traveling, because of, just the excessive weight gain already. It's tough. But a lot of times, though, when you get over that hump, people that are like that see huge shifts and huge changes faster than somebody that may just need to get back on a schedule or lose a few pounds or whatever,
Right.
because it's harder when you're close to your weight and you're already doing a lot of the things you're doing. So you're not going to move the dial as much as somebody who could really use a lot of change. So that was a difficult one, because it's, you know, what do you tell somebody who's traveling 100% of the time? It's really hard. It's really hard. Like, there's certain things I can say and, you know, lists I can give to say, okay, you can pick this kind of stuff up. But again, I'm not a big fan of telling people what to eat. I don't do meal planning. I don't do, you know, I don't like to, I'm not a dietitian, so I don't like to do that. But I like people to come to their own conclusions as well. But if they ask, I will certainly say, well, here's what you can do. But it was a tough one. It was, you know, because, but again, you have to be ready. So that's one of the things that, you know, as coaches we do is we always have an initial session with somebody, because it may be that there are times that I didn't coach people because they weren't the right fit or they weren't ready. Like, you have to be ready. There's no point in taking somebody on that you can tell is not ready to do the work or make the commitment, because it's just going to be a waste of money and they're going to not be satisfied.
Yeah.
And it's
so you say that you don't meal plan. However, to me, there's a difference between meal planning and maybe helping suggest, again, substitutions and stuff like that. Yes. So where does your service sort of start and end in regards to that?
So I will give recipes. Like, as part of the cleanse, I give a lot of recipes and suggested, you know, like a day, like one day, what you could eat. What I don't do is saying, Monday, you're going to have this for breakfast. You're going to have this for dinner. You're going to have these snacks. Like, I don't do that, because it's all, again, you know, you want to give a range of foods for people to eat. Some people may not like certain foods or don't eat certain foods. So, yeah,
that's where I have a little bit of a challenge with meal plans, because there's a lot on the internet right now. There's a lot where you could literally go, put in your information, and they will spit out eat this at this time and whatever. But again, it's not food that I necessarily like. So I push back on the meal plans, but I do need someone to help me maybe make some suggestions in regards to some substitutions. Which is where a coach is very invaluable.
Yeah, because we can give, like, I love doing recipes. You know, I like photographing my meals that I make, putting them on my blog. I like doing that. That's a lot of fun. I like playing around with things. So I will certainly, you know, give people recipes that I've tried or made or whatever and said, here are some suggestions.
Right.
And you go through and say, okay, well, if you don't like oatmeal, well, then let's cross that off the list. I won't, you know, I won't recommend savory oatmeal for breakfast, or, you know what I mean? I don't recommend things with
oatmeal. Because someone like Faye, who's not used to eating breakfast, would find oatmeal probably very heavy.
Yeah.
Right?
If you, people always go, here's a healthy pancake. And I'm like, oh, that's like even worse. You're like, So for me, I think I just don't, like, I don't like heavy foods, and that's the difference, right? So I like lighter fare. So, you know, if I'm going to eat something, I'll have like a piece of toast. That's about it, because it's light, but that's about as far as I can go. So yeah, it's important, because when you do read some of these, you must eat this. It's fascinating, some of the things, you know, that they tell you to eat, and you're like, are you kidding me?
I'm like, who would eat all of this in one day? Or I think it's very difficult.
There was an interesting, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the diet, but I read it a couple months ago, and it was fascinating. They said when Kate Middleton wants to lose weight, she sticks to this diet. And it was basically a slam about how she's, you know, high maintenance or something. I don't remember what it was. It was a gossipy thing, but it was like, the diet was eat as much protein as you want, but you're only allowed protein.
Wow. Okay.
That was the whole diet. And I thought I would probably die. I couldn't even get
you would.
But it literally said you cannot eat anything else. You can only have protein and water. And I was like, well, first of all, I don't know what would I eat? Tofu 3 times?
Nothing. You would eat nothing. You would eat nachos with no chips or cheese.
I can't eat nachos. But it was fascinating. But I thought, there's so many people that are looking for quick solutions, and they would read this and they would say, oh, this is going to work. I'll just use this. And it doesn't teach anybody anything. And I think the importance about healthy eating is to learn how to eat healthy, as opposed to, hey, try this quick fix and you don't have to think about it, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the issue I have with like the shakes or the pills or whatever, and they do this cleanse that is 2 weeks, again, those 14 days, but it doesn't teach you anything, because once you're done the shakes, you're still left with, but I don't know what to eat. I don't know what makes me feel good. I don't know what to do. I don't know what that next step is. So you're right. It doesn't teach you anything.
It's the next step. It's like, okay, I can commit for 2 weeks, but then what? What do you
then
do?
What? Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go all the way to because what's going to happen is you're just going to go back or worse to your old eating habits, right? Because you're like, oh, this was stupid. I wish I didn't do it for 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have a cleanse that's starting mid-July, which is awesome. How else can people get in touch with you if they need your help in regards to healthy eating?
Well, I have a website.
Excellent.
And I can say the website. It's because my company is Nourish to Live RX. So it's www.ntlrx.com. ntlrx.com.
ntlrx.com.
Is that correct?
Yep.
NTLX. Is that correct? I have it on the screen. I just want to make sure that's correct.
Yep.
And we can get to your cleanse from that site.
Yes, under the events. I think I have the cleanse under there. And I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook group called Fabulous Over 40 that I do bi-weekly workshops, and I bring in guest speakers and go live into that group. And it's on Zoom too. You don't have to be in the group to join. Those are just free webinars.
Awesome.
So that's typically where I'm at, hanging out on Facebook, or you can find me, all of my information on my website. And yeah, if you're interested in a cleanse, I have a special going on until July 4th. I guess that's Sunday, for the cleanse.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Checking because I thought it was free.
The cleanse?
Can you hear me? No, can you hear me, Stacey? You're good?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I thought I froze. Awesome. So we have to look at it, Stacey. I think we're tomorrow we're gonna have to figure out how much water we have to drink.
I've done the calculation. It's not good.
Don't drink it on the day that you have to drive for 3 hours.
Right, but I'm very, very interested in the chia seeds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I love it.
And the flax seeds, because I love flax seeds. I love the taste of it. I don't think it tastes like wood. I disagree. But I'm very interested. So Faye, we're going to have this conversation.
Well, you know how to find me if you have questions about that.
Well, when we get up to the farm, we'll do a little video and show everybody that we're trying it. I don't know if I can get to half my weight in water. If I can get to a couple of glasses a day. That's a start.
I would gradually increase. Don't start doing it, tomorrow. Because
I think that's the other piece that I think a lot of people go all in and too fast too soon.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I like about the fact that you do a 3-week. But again, the first week is more easing you in. The second week is doing the cleanse, and the third week is more about what you learned and then reintroduction. So you call it 3 weeks, but that's great because again, it's not just start, do, done, boom, you're done. And then what?
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
And those don't work.
Yeah. Cause I try to make sure people leave, like when we're done, that they can continue on and either keep reintroducing foods or they can go back. It's up to them after that. But most people don't. Most people feel the difference. And they like it. So
that's great.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Renee. I appreciate all the information you've given us. I mean, there's a lot of things that I learned today.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And apparently that calculation kind of scared me, but it's okay. I'm in. So yes, I might have to check out that cleanse. Yeah, I'll be back on vacation. I'm going away next week, so I think I'm going to need it when I get back.
Yeah. So everyone's got the link. You can go into Mastermind City Community, and it'll be there as well. So make sure that you check Renee out. She's got so much information, a wealth of knowledge, and if you really haven't figured out where to start, she's your starting line.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me. This is great.
Great.